Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Chocobo Dash. I'm one of your hosts, Elliot Lefebvre.
And I'm your other host, now Celestine.
I'm gonna just say, I feel like something happened this past week in Final Fantasy XIV. Something, I can't put my finger on it. Nell, maybe you could help me out here a little bit?
Patch, maybe?
Right! 2.5.
Oh, right! The hunts!
Yeah, that was it. That must be it. That must be it. Hold on, my phone is...
Unprofessional.
Yes, very unprofessional having a phone. Who has phones anymore?
Totally need to go back to the pager, man. Go for a pager.
Why stop there? I'm going back to telegraphs. I'm just, really bringing it old school, you know what I mean?
No, if you're going to go old school, you have to go past that, and it has to be message delivered by horse.
Horses. Screw your horses, man. I'm sending pigeons. Anyway, moving along from, this, japery, general frivolity, let's talk. We've got 2.5. It's here, it's playable, and it's real.
And it's full of people doing hunts again.
Well, there's a fair... It still does not seem as hunt-happy as the last time around.
Have you set foot in any zone with the hunt active?
Yes.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
It's bad, but it's not as bad as it used to be, partially because you can't... With the changes to B ranks, you can't quite... just be constantly rotating zones, but...
This is true.
So it's not as bad as it used to be, but there's still a fair amount of hunt chaos. But let's not talk about that too much right now, because it's not as if... The problems with hunts are not totally fixed, but they're not nearly as bad as they were when hunts were introduced, and so we don't really need to start doing again the whole, are hunts broken this week? Yes, they are, thing.
Yeah, we don't really need to worry about that. We just need to mention that they're back, and they're back in force, but they're not back in as much of force as they once were.
Yep, it's not as bad as it could have been. So let's move on. Let's start talking about some of the stuff. You know what, Nell, you go ahead, since I may have accidentally given you a minor spoiler there. Let's go on. Let's talk about... You start us off with something to talk about for this patch, because it's a big one.
World of Darkness.
All right, let's start with the World of Darkness.
I have to say, I was really impressed with the overall design, because you can do it, fail, and then figure out what you're doing very quickly. But implementing it at the same time is not as easy as it looks. So it's a bit challenging, but it's not like game breaker challenging.
Yeah, I like... All of the fights are far more mechanically interesting than the stuff that we had in Circus Tower. Like, I was not a huge fan of Circus Tower in play. I thought it was, a decent attempt, but I thought it was much weaker than Labyrinth of the Ancients. I think World of Darkness has 4 very interesting fights mechanically, and they're all diverse enough, and they're quicker to understand, but they're also going to take you a little bit of time before you, stop wiping on them, basically.
It takes a little bit to master, but learning what the mechanics are themselves are faster.
Yeah. But which of the 4 fights, because there are only 4 fights, for those of you who are wondering, out of the original Final Fantasy III bosses, Echidna got left out, which one was your favorite?
Cerberus.
The Cerberus fight?
Yes, but unfortunately, I have only been able to experience 2/3 of that fight. My party has never been selected to be eaten yet.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I was lucky that the first time I ever did it was like, yep, we're going to be eaten. So I got to experience the full glory of being digested by a dog.
It's hilarious. The first time I went into that, people are like, okay, you need to stand in the purple stuff to get eaten. So half of our alliance just ran into it and died immediately. And it's like, I think you need to do something first.
I especially like that. And I mean, there was a little nod there, especially to anyone who has played Final Fantasy III. That was a game that loved having you go through entire dungeons in mini status. And, taking advantage of the idea that, yeah, you can go inside of something's body when you're minimized. So I thought it was really cute that in the midst of all the other dungeon mechanics, that was in there. That you actually had, here is a boss fight where a group gets minimized and then goes inside of a boss and fights the boss from inside.
That's actually really neat and really fun. The
However,
Cloud of Darkness, though, the actual cloud, that's kind of interesting.
I was actually really, really impressed by the Cloud of Darkness fight, because that's a fight, especially, that does not translate very well at a glance to Final Fantasy XIV's method of combat, but it was really satisfying, it was really fun, and it's challenging, but not overtly so. Like, it's not... You always have to be on your game, but there's no single failure point where it's like, nope, not enough people did this, we are going to wipe now. It's more of a, okay, yeah, we've had too many screw-ups here, we are going to wipe, we're not going to make it.
Yeah, but other than that, I mean, the fights are very well balanced for a 24-person raid that's not supposed to be, like, super endgame, but still challenging.
Yeah.
Which reminds me of the new dungeons.
Yeah, they are a little trickier. The new dungeons are a little bit trickier, although I think it depends a lot on which one you're doing. I'm not sure if Amdapor or Keeper is more complicated when you get right down to it.
Andapor, I would say. Definitely Andapor.
I mean, and the thing is that I'm finding as I'm doing them more, they're not actually that bad. They seem worse the first time you're going through them, because there's a lot more to keep track of, even on your first run, than you have in a lot of the other endgame dungeons, I'm going to say.
I think the only one I had trouble with was the last boss in Keeper of the Lake.
Yeah, Keeper there's a bunch of stuff going on with that one, and you really have to kind of stay on your toes through the whole fight.
And definitely be aware of your surroundings, including anything that may or may not pop up in the middle of the fight.
Yeah. But I would say my favorite, and I think this is going to be true for pretty much everyone, I'm going to guess you're going to mirror me, my favorite of this round is Wanderer's Palace.
Hell yeah! Stop Ton Bullying 2015.
We get to rescue Ton babies. They're so Ton.
They're so adorable. Why would anyone want to hurt them?
Because Mamul Ja are jerks.
Damn straight.
That's really that's the only explanation that the game offers you too. So I guess that's kind of a spoiler. Why do they want to do this? Because Mamul Ja are assholes.
Poor Tonberries.
But it's okay. Well, the ending cutscene with the boss there.
No, don't say anything.
I'm not saying anything more. I'm not spoiling it for people who haven't seen it.
We're just going to tell you right now, don't skip the ending cutscenes. Don't.
Yep.
Oh, so good.
That's one of those times where, yep, okay, that works out well. Pretty much every time that they screw with the little victory dance, it turns into something gold.
Yeah, not necessarily happy gold, but
yeah. But yeah, that was my personal favorite. I think it's very well handled, and it's a fun done. The second boss especially is a pretty easy boss once you get the feel for it, but it's really fun and it really keeps you active through the whole fight.
I'm not even sure if I fully understand the mechanics behind that one yet, but it is fun and I do know a good portion of it.
And then Keeper is... Honestly, I'm pleased that Keeper includes a nod with the first boss to a pretty obscure shooter that I would have never expected to see a nod to.
I don't recall that.
The first boss is Einhander.
Oh! Oh, God. That's old PlayStation 1. Give me a second here. Yeah, right here.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a Squaresoft title.
Yep, and not only that, not only is it named after that title, but it also, you have a bird flying up and swapping between its gun pods.
I thought that was awesome.
It's a clever little nod, and it's a lot of fun until somebody stands a little too close to a main tank, and then everything blows up.
And if you look at it, the way that the bird holds the weapon looks exactly like the cover.
Yep. No, it's one of those. I mean, they love their references in this game anyway, but that one was a particularly unexpected one.
But
yeah,
overall, I'd have to say I'm overall impressed with the patch so far.
I'm impressed with the patch so far. I have done the storyline trial. I have not done the Hildebrand trial or the Odin trial yet. And those aren't spoilers. They've been,
Yeah, I heard that they nerfed the method that we won at FanFest with, so gonna have to figure out a new method. Can't silence some of his moves anymore.
But from what I have heard from most people, it is really largely a DPS check. If you...
Oh, yeah.
The storyline trial, which, I'm not going to say what it is. You've probably heard what it is, and it's worth knowing. It was an interesting fight. I'm pleased to see them kind of pegging... I don't want to call it an easy fight, but it wasn't a super hard fight. I think one of the things that has really hurt the post 2.0 patch cycle, especially, people had some trouble with King Mogglebog. And as a result, the subsequent primal fights, which are the main source of trials that we get, have been kind of nerfed into oblivion and given no actual drops. And as the result is, they're not very interesting. Like, for the real strategy for beating Shiva hard mode was basically stand there, hit her, don't die.
Dodge out of big giant circles, and that's it.
Yeah, and I mean, I understand, but by locking everything behind the extreme mode, it kind of creates this unhealthy area where, these hard modes are not hard modes.
They're story modes, that's all there is to it.
And it made it harder to unlock anything else. It made it more awkward to play, and there was no reason to put loot there, but that was because they were nerfed into the point of complete irrelevance. I'm happy to see that, this story trial is actually, you gotta have some coordination. If you can't clear it, practice it a couple times, it is not that hard of a fight. During my successful run, we wiped the first time, and then we cleared it. So it's not too hard. It is a lot of fun, but there are enough mechanics going on that you don't feel like you just show up and then win.
Yeah, not like the very last fight of Praetorium, right?
Oh boy. Yeah, if you want to draw that parallel, it's much Praetorium, where the final boss is really Ultima Weapon, and then... Oh, wait, there's one more fight.
Victory lap! Poke, 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 win!
I've heard stories about groups that actually pulled and killed that last boss without realizing that their healers had not yet gotten out of cutscenes.
I did that once with, there was me, a tank, and another DPS, and we killed it before the rest of the Alliance was out of a cutscene.
Yep. I could not, with a gun to my head, tell you exactly what the mechanics were of that fight.
I can tell you exactly what they were. Don't stand in the black stuff. That was it.
Yeah, that sounds about right. So, yeah. That... And obviously, we don't want to talk too much about the main storyline, because there are some spoilers in there, but
yeah,
I was a little disappointed by... Having cleared it myself, what I am going to say is I was a little disappointed about where they decided, we're going to cut off part 1 here, because it doesn't really feel adequately like a part 1. It feels far more like, okay, we're done with, we've got enough content for one patch here, so we're just going to stop now.
So it's not cut off at a decent point, it's just a cut off.
Yeah. It's not the worst thing I've ever seen. It's it's not ending in the middle of events, but there's no sense of, cliffhangers or,
Oh,
to be
what
continued.
do you think about the weekly quest for the Crystal Tower?
I think it's a good idea. I think it's a very cleverly implemented way of fixing the bigger issue that, okay, nobody wanted to roll on armor when they wanted to roll on upgrade items, because the upgrade item is always strictly better. So I think it's a nice idea to say, and it's a good way of saying, if you're a newer character and you're still getting geared up, let's make sure that you can actually make use of these instances designed to help you gear up. So those are all good things. What is somewhat less good is the fact that, that's a lot of running, and right now they've still limited the upgrade items on that weekly quest to just for your accessories, just on the right side.
Yeah, that is a little bit of a disappointment, but at the same time, I'm expecting that probably 2.51, when they implement Gold Saucer and all that, they'll probably put the left side upgrades in there as well.
Yep.
Because then we'll have about a month or so of that. Then we'll get the last part of the patch, which has got the other half of the story, and wrapping up everything else until the expansion.
And I imagine that's also when we're going to be getting the encrypted tombstone. So I'm sure they're all and I remember they did something similar with Circus Tower when they were rolling out the upgrade items. But again, it just creates... The whole upgrade system has never been implemented well. It's never worked out well, and it's never been something that the game needed. It's really...
The only ones that benefit from it, honestly, are raiders.
And even they don't really benefit from it because, the claim, oh, well, it's to address loot issues with Coil. No, it just adds something else that you have to try and, win on loot rolls with. It literally does not... It fixes nothing. It just adds an extra step into getting decent armor. That's all it does, and it doesn't help. And yet, for some reason, we've still got it in the game. And so, hopefully, once obviously it's too late now. Hopefully, in 3.0, this is not going to be an issue.
From my understanding in 3.0, this is just my understanding. I could be wrong. Is with the 2 different tiers of Alexander, we're going to get 2 different tiers of gear. So, I'm just going to use numbers here as an example. The I-20 gear would drop from the normal mode, and I-30 would drop from the hard mode. And what people could do is they could go through the normal mode and go, okay, I'm fully geared from normal mode, and it's been like a month and a bit, and I feel like taking a challenge. They can go into the hard mode and try to get the 130 gear or something.
I don't know. As far as I'm concerned, I'm holding off any judgment or preemptive irritations until we see what that's actually going to be. And I don't think we're going to find out more about that until we get closer to Heavensward's launch. So...
That's not... we're going to get some information from that probably... shortly after 2.51, I would say. They're probably going to keep everything under wraps for now.
Yeah.
And once 2.51 drops, they'll probably give us a little bit more of a teaser and some information about 3.0. Yep. But mostly about probably 2.55, they'll probably call it for the last half.
Before the fall part 2 is, what they're currently calling it. So.
Yeah. But after that drops, we'll probably a couple weeks after that is when we'll start getting good chunks of information on 3.0.
Yep. So that's about the size of it right now. Obviously, it does feel a little bit thinner than previous patches, but honestly, that isn't much of a thing. Despite the fact that this is technically just part 1 and we've still got 2 more big things coming, it feels like a very feature-complete patch.
Well, it may feel thinner, but at the same token, we're getting 3 major chunks to this patch.
Well, that's my point. Yeah, we have more. There is more coming. This is not the end.
So, until next time then, everybody, as always, you can leave any positive or negative comments in the box below. You can like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already, and follow us on Twitter. I'm at NellCelestine.
And I'm Elliot_Lefebvre.
If you want to contact us, the best ways to reach us are on the Twitter, the official Lodestone topic, or in the comment box on YouTube. Those are the 3 best and fastest ways to get in touch with us. We do check other places, such as the Moglog and what have you, but unfortunately we don't check those as soon, so reading comments from there takes a little bit of time. Now, do we have a question of the week?
Did you pose last week's question? I
No,
cannot
you
remember.
did. No,
Oh,
no, I did. It was the machinist question.
yes, it was how do people think machinist is going to work? And we should probably read those responses, shouldn't we?
Yes, we definitely should before we give our new question.
Yep. Okay, we only had a couple responses on this particular one. Nikki7 Solo said, I think it's mostly going to be like Bard in regards to range attacking, but like Puppet Master from Final Fantasy XI in regard to how the turrets work. I really hope not, because I don't want to spend all of my gil on puppets.
Oh, tell me about it. I'm not looking forward to spending a boatload of gil and just some optional parts that'll be upgraded patch later. Now, Shiro says that I figure Machinist will still work like the Engineering Guild Wars too, just have turrets to buff, debuff, and have a second way to deal steady damage while moving around the arena.
I honestly, that sounds closer to what I'm picturing. If only because I don't picture it being, a fully featured pet class a la Summoner, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, if it does any buffs or debuffs, chances are it's not going to be damage over time, or if it's going to be damage over time, it's going to be not to the same degree as Summoner, because that's pretty much Summoner's primary focus.
Yeah, but I think it's not... My point, I don't think that the little robots you summon are going to have full-featured pet bars and everything. I think they're mostly going to be there to provide an effect for a duration.
Yeah, I can see that. My theory is it would be like you summon the turret in that location and it would shoot anything within like programmed range or something, and possibly like binding attacks or silence attacks, what have you, depending on the certain type of drone, and you could use them for like special abilities like cross shots or spread fire and stuff like that.
Consume it to do extra damage, something like that.
Self-destructing.
Yeah. So, okay, so it's my turn to ask a question for this week. So, what I'm going to go with is, okay, obviously we've seen the first half of this patch, and we know we've got the Battle of Ishgard coming. We've got, there's a little more for us still to experience, but, for this last patch, we know what most of the trials are. We know, who we've been fighting. So, what I want to ask people who've experienced the patch thus far is, do you feel like this wraps up the story from 2.0? Do you feel like it's a, fair conclusion, or do you feel like we've kind of sidestepped a lot of the big questions that happened at 2.0's launch? Because I think, at least this first half of the patch, it feels like it has not really addressed some of the big mysteries that are kind of still hovering over our heads.
That's a much better question than I was going to ask.
Were you going to ask where your keys were again?
No, you're the one who technically asked that question.
Oh, yeah.
No, my question is going to be, should Hildebrandt join the Scions?
Most certainly not. A gentleman must have no conflicts of interest. But, no, I think, personally, I feel like, while I'm enjoying the story, and while I've enjoyed what's happened with characters, and please, no spoilers in the comments for those who haven't done it yet.
Yes, please, no spoilers, no spoilers, no spoilers.
But I think it's... I feel like, they made a big point of, okay, there's a mystery surrounding why is it that, we were thrown ahead 5 years? What happened at the end of the Battle of Cardinal? They've addressed it a little bit in the end of the final turn of Coil, but they haven't really ever kind of come out and said what's going on. They've hinted at it a whole lot, and I feel like this just didn't... It feels like we kind of sidestepped like a revelation or two somewhere along the line.
But here's hoping we do find out. And if it's a mystery, there's only one detective I would trust to find out the answer.
Yep, Briarden.
Alright, so thank you very much for tuning in, everybody.
Yep, until next time.
This is now Celestine.
And this is Elliot Lefebvre.
Bidding you adieu.
Adieu.